Okay, good evening, everybody. I just wanted to remind you that we will have different information dropped in the chat box throughout the webinar. So I would check the chat box every once in a while for important information. And also we will be recording this webinar, so you don't have to take notes. An email will go out to all of the participants of Day on the Hill tomorrow in the afternoon, and it will include this recording as well as the slide deck, so you can click through those for the information that you're looking for. So first of all, I just wanted to say thank you for participating tonight, and we're excited that we're going to have our very first Day on the Hill in several years. It's been quite a while. For all of you who have participated virtually, it's quite different being in person. I think it's more exciting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all of you. So first of all, I just wanted to introduce myself quickly. I'm Becky Abbott. I'm the co-chair of the NFED Family Advocacy Committee, and then I'm also the Director of Treatment and Research for the NFED. With us tonight is Lachlan Kerr from Soapbox Consulting, and he will be presenting at the end of this webinar. For this training agenda, we're going to first be talking about the Ensuring Lasting Smiles Act, which you all know is ELSA, how to prepare for Hill Day, and we'll provide a little checklist about what you need to do between now and when you leave for Hill Day. We'll provide the ask that we will be asking of legislators in our legislative meetings, and then also provide tips for successful meetings. We will have the training and Hill Day agendas that you've all been so patiently waiting for. We'll talk a little bit about what to expect on Capitol Hill, provide the Capitol Hill map, talk a little bit about how you can advocate on social media. We want to thank our sponsors. And then we'll talk a little bit about the online app or the mobile tool and the schedule overview with Lachlan from Soapbox Consulting. And then we'll also have a question and answer session. First of all, I just wanted to welcome all the ELSA supporting organizations and advocates. While it may be the National Foundation for Ectodermal Dysplasia's Advocacy Day on Capitol Hill, we do have many advocates from different organizations who will be participating alongside us. And we just wanted to welcome everybody, and looking forward to seeing you all on the Hill next week. So first of all, I just briefly want to go over what the Ensuring Lasting Smiles Act is. As I said, everybody knows it as ELSA. Kayla just dropped a link in the chat that you can further look into the specifics of the bill. ELSA is federal legislation that is broadly written off of the 50 state statutes that require insurers to offer coverages for the medically necessary repair of congenital anomalies, and it allows treating physicians to determine the medical necessity. About 4% of children are born with a congenital anomaly, and we all want to know what ELSA will do. It would ensure that private, group, and individual health plans do not deny or delay medically necessary treatments of congenital anomalies. And then there's just a brief list of some of the congenital anomalies that would be covered under ELSA, and that would be oral defects such as cleft lip and cleft palate, missing teeth, skeletal defects, vision defects, and hearing defects. However, there is a broader list, but these are just some of the examples. So first of all, I would like to go through a checklist of how you can prepare for the Day on the Hill. You'll hear over and over again in this training session, as well as on site, that you need to write and practice your story. Your personal story or your patient's story or your loved one's story is the most powerful tool that you have to educate lawmakers to create change. So we want you to write it out, practice your story. Try to keep that story to a one-page maximum. Most legislative offices staff will only read about a page, so we just want to make sure that you have all the critical information on that one page. Make sure that you include your diagnosis. So for my son, oldest son, Aiden, he has a diagnosis of XLHED. So we would want to make sure that we would include that along with any symptoms that he has, as well as he's missing teeth. And then also the daily impact or your struggles of having that congenital anomaly. Make sure that you include the treatments that you've received or future treatments that you plan on receiving. If you know the costs or the costs that you will have in the future, feel free to share those. And then also, if you feel comfortable, include pictures, as well as include the sacrifices you've had to make to afford those treatments. We've heard from families that they've had to sell their house to be able to pay for the treatments for their children or for their loved ones or for themselves, or they couldn't send their child to college. There's, the list goes on, but all of those things really do impact the legislators' decision on whether or not they're going to support ELSA. Please make sure that you bring 8 copies of your story for leave behinds. We will provide a folder that you will leave with the legislators, and you can put those stories right in those folders. Bring anything that will make an impact in the meetings. So for example, if your children or yourself wear a denture, you could bring those. You could bring pictures of any of the surgeries or treatments that you've had that would make an impact. If you have receipts for the cost of services or any of the devices that you use, and you feel comfortable bringing those along and showing those to lawmakers, please bring those with you. Make sure that you pack lightweight, comfortable shoes and pants to wear to Capitol Hill. We will be providing a t-shirt that has the ELSA logo on it. And we just want to make sure that everybody understands that there's going to be a lot of walking. The weather may be warm, and we just want to make sure that you're wearing really comfortable clothes so that you can be comfortable throughout the day in case it does get really hot outside. Make sure that you review your schedule and then reach out with any questions. Kayla will drop a number for the soapbox helpline in the chat. And if you have any questions about the schedule itself, please reach out to them directly. I will be answering the questions later after the presentation. I know there's a couple of different questions in there. So if you can add them into the chat and then I'll answer them at the end. So we've had a lot of people reach out and ask what the legislative ask is going to be for this event. And it's here on the slide. We are going to ask legislators to please support and become an original co-sponsor for reintroduction of the Bipartisan Bicameral Ensuring Lasting Smiles Act, or ELSA, which will be reintroduced this year for the 118th Congress. So what that means is that the bill has not yet been reintroduced, so we're asking legislators to become original co-sponsors. Legislators can become original co-sponsors before reintroduction, and then once the bill is reintroduced, then they could become co-sponsors instead of original co-sponsors. Just some helpful meeting tips. Try to arrive at least 5 minutes early if you have time so that you can talk with the rest of your team. You can go over who's going to be going first if you don't know that information already. And you can just kind of make a game plan for each meeting. And some meetings may change at the last minute, so it's always nice just to get there a few minutes early so you can talk with your team. Each meeting usually lasts about 20 to 30 minutes each. It depends if you're placed in meetings with additional advocates. Those could run, the full 30 minutes. If there's only 1 or 2 people in the meeting, they may end a little bit quickly. Each person will have probably about 3 to 6 meetings for their team, and you should have received your link from Soapbox today. It would have come right from Lachlan. And he provided a mobile tool link that you could enter in your code and you could view your schedule. If you did not receive that, please enter that in the chat and Lachlan will reach out to you right away to send a new link. Team leaders should facilitate the flow of the meeting, and that just really means know who's going to be talking first. The team leader usually talks first. And then as the meeting goes on, you will allow each person in your group to speak for about 1 to 2 minutes, depending on how many people are in your group. Set expectations and confirm how long your meeting will last. When you go into the meetings, sometimes one of the legislators will have to leave if they have a vote or a hearing, or there may be other meetings that have been scheduled and they may only have 15-20 minutes. So just ask them ahead of time. We believe that this meeting is supposed to be 30 minutes. Is that still the case? Just so that you can fit everybody in. If you are in a meeting and you have non-constituents in your meeting, please have them go last if there's time. So for example, I'm in Wisconsin. That would mean that all of the constituents from Wisconsin would share their stories first. And then if there are other non-constituents in the group, then they would share their stories after the constituents. Make sure you focus on ELSA. There is a ton of wonderful legislation out there and some not so good legislation that you may not support. However, we don't want to talk about other political issues. We don't want to cause issues within the legislative offices. So just make sure that you focus on ELSA. That's what we're there to talk about. And there's maybe a couple times when there's legislators who may get off topic, and just very gently bring them back to ELSA and explain that that's what you're there to talk about. Make sure you take notes on any type of comments or questions that staff members may make, and write those down. You can also enter those into the notes and to the mobile tool, which Lachlan will be going over later. I will be telling you this in both sessions, and I'll be reminding you of this often. Make sure you're kind. Most staff and members have very, very busy days. They take meetings back to back all day long. They're very tired. And we want to make sure to stand out in the crowd. We're not there to talk about Republicans or Democrats. We're here to share our stories. We're here to educate and most of all, be kind. So just remember that. And first and foremost, just try to relax, have fun, stay positive, and have a really good day. I think that the Day on the Hill is an amazing experience. And I hope that you will all too, especially if it's your first day. So here's our training and Hill Day agendas. So we will be meeting at the Sheraton Pentagon City for training day on Monday, September 18th. We'll start from 1:30 to 3 with on-site registration. After that, we'll have a brief welcome. After the welcome, we'll have 4 guest speakers, which will be on our agenda that is coming out soon. Kayla will be adding that to the Day on the Hill website, so we'll send that out once that's complete. We'll then take a break, and advocates are welcome to just, hang around the hotel, or if you want to check in, if you haven't had a chance to check in, that would be the time to do so. From 5 to 6, we'll have dinner for everybody. And then from 6 to 7:30, we'll have advocacy training. I just want to let you know that tonight is really just an overview of what to expect. We'll go more in depth about ELSA. We'll talk about the status, our bill leads, and different things like that on site. This is really just to get you prepared for what to expect on Day on the Hill. Then for any advocates who would like to stay, we're going to be having advocate and family get together, and we'll have a movie and some desserts and snacks. So you're all welcome to join us for that. The next morning, we're going to be getting up early on Tuesday, September 19th, and we'll be going to the Hill. We have breakfast at 7 a.m. We will be boarding buses at 8 a.m. and we will be leaving sharply at 8:05. So we need to make sure that we're on the buses to go to the Hill. We should get there probably about 8:45. The bus will arrive at the ADA Townhouse. You can either leave your luggage at the hotel. They have a room for us that you can leave the luggage, or you can drop off the luggage at the ADA Townhouse, and it can stay there until 3:30. If you have meetings after 3:30, you will have to find another place to leave your luggage. So I would recommend leaving it at the hotel if you have meetings that go later than that. We will take a picture on the Hill stairs at 9:05. After the couple of pictures that we're taking, we will then go to the Senate Visitors Center, or you will go to the Senate side if you have meetings. There are quite a few meetings that start at 9:30. We ask that if you have meetings that start at 9:30 or 10, that you go directly to your Senate meetings. For those who have meetings that start after that, you can go to the welcome remarks at the Senate Visitor Center. And then after those Senate meetings, then we will switch to the House side. And I believe that the last meeting as of today is scheduled for 4:45 at the end of the day. So what to expect on Capitol Hill? First of all, I want to remind you that there is no transportation provided after your legislative visits. You will need to find either the Metro or a taxi Uber, however you want to get back to either the hotel, or if you're going straight to the airport, or if you have other plans. We do not provide transportation back. So if you need any information on that, please let us know and I'll be able to help you out. As I had said before, we start on the Senate side and then we move to the House side. The walk from either the House side to the Senate side or vice versa can take 15 to 20 minutes. So just make sure that you take that into account. It can take, quite a while depending on if you're walking outside or if you take the tunnel system. If you do take the tunnel system, it can be a little bit longer of a walk. If you are on the Senate side, you can ask the staff in the Senate offices that you are visiting to escort you to the House side via trolley. What I usually do is if I'm walking into my last Senate meeting, I ask, is a staff member available after the meeting if they can walk us over to the trolley so that we can take it over to the House side. And I would say 99% of the time, the offices are willing to do that if they have somebody available. Just know that anytime that you do go to the Capitol building or under the Capitol building on the trolley, you cannot have any water or any snacks with you. So they will ask you to dump those. And then also they do ask for an ID. So make sure you have your ID on you. If you're planning on walking outside and not using the tunnels, I would recommend you putting on sunscreen and maybe having a hat if you have one. It does get quite warm out and it's usually sunny. The NFED will provide snacks for the day. We'll have them at both the ADA townhouse and then also we will have them inside the Senate Visitor Center available. Just remember that you can bring in snacks in the House and Senate buildings. However, you cannot bring in water or any snacks into the actual Capitol building. So just keep that in mind. You can also bring in a water bottle, just make sure that it's empty. In all the buildings, they have on-site filling stations, so you can fill those as needed. And then also all of the House and Senate offices usually have water as well as some type of a snack or drinks that you can ask for. So if you don't bring a water bottle, you can always ask the offices if they have a beverage for you. As I mentioned, liquids and food are prohibited in the actual US Capitol building. So make sure that you don't bring anything in. As you go through security, if you have anything on you, it doesn't matter if it's unopened, they will make you get rid of it. Strollers are allowed. So if you need a stroller, you're more than welcome to bring one. The NFED will provide a tote bag. And then the bag should generally be about that size. If you need a bigger bag to accommodate any type of medical needs or food for kids, they are willing to make an exception for that. So here's the map of Capitol Hill. Most of the time when you think of Capitol Hill, if you haven't been there before, you usually think about the main Capitol building, and that's right in the middle. That is where the Senate Visitor Center is, and there's a star where the Senate Visitor Center is. However, keep in mind that the actual legislative visits are actually in the House buildings, which are at the top. They're the Russell, Dirksen, and Hart buildings. And then the House buildings are at the bottom of the map. And those are the Rayburn building, the Longworth building, and the Cannon building. And then the star at the bottom of the map is the ADA townhouse. So as I mentioned before, the NFED has rooms reserved for Hill Day. The Senate Visitor Center, which is in the Capitol building, we have that from 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And then the ADA townhouse, we will have from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. There are cafes with full menus available on both the Senate and the House side. My kids love going to these. You're kind of on your own for lunch because meetings are so staggered that each group will have to take their lunch at a separate time. There is a huge amount of options on both sides. So I would recommend stopping at either of the lower levels of the House or the Senate side to stop for lunch. We will provide a copy of these slides so you can click on the prohibited items. Just remember that it always talks about the Capitol building. The Capitol building is different from the House and Senate building. So just always keep that in mind. They are different. They do have different rules. And then also, as always, the Capitol Police are authorized to make exceptions of prohibited items. So that would be if you need some type of medication or liquid for your child, or any type of medicine or other special needs. So if you have any questions about what you can and can't bring in or need special medical service, then please call the accessibility office. They're very kind and very helpful. Their number is 202-224-4048, and that will be right on the slide that we will provide afterwards. So when you're on Capitol Hill, I would strongly recommend that you advocate on social media as well. When you're on the Hill, besides the Capitol building, when we're on site, we will provide very specific instructions on what can and cannot be recorded and taken pictures of inside the Capitol building. However, when you're in the House side or the Senate side buildings, you can ask the Senate offices or the House side to take pictures with your legislators. Just make sure that you're always requesting the picture and let them know that you plan to post that on social media. Make sure that you're using the Ensuring Lasting Smiles hashtag as well as NFED on the Hill. Try to tag your legislators in those pictures so that the legislators can see the pictures. Sometimes they reshare those pictures. We have a list of all of the different social media tags on our advocacy resources page, and Kayla's going to drop that in the chat at some point during the webinar. You can create your own post, or you can reply to a legislator's post. Sometimes legislators will post, "We just had ELSA advocates in our office," and then you can reshare that information. As always, be kind in your comments online. Please make sure that whether you like the legislator that you're meeting with or not, remember always to use kind language in your posts. Be polite, positive, and then also ask family and friends to like those posts and repost so that we can gain extra exposure for ELSA. So we have a lot of sponsors for Advocacy Day this year, and every single sponsorship is absolutely appreciated. This event costs more than I can imagine, and we always want to be very inclusive of all of the ELSA supporting organizations and advocates. So without these wonderful sponsors, we would not be able to put on such a wonderful event. So with that, again, I just really want to thank everybody, thank all the sponsors, and I will then turn it over to Lachlan.
Thanks, Becky, for inviting us to be part of the event. My name is Lachlan. I'm with Soapbox, and we have had the pleasure and the honor to schedule your meetings with the Hill. I'm going to take you through some of the logistical details of the Advocacy Day, like how you're going to get live assistance, how you're going to see your schedule, and how after your meetings, you're going to give feedback to Becky. Let's go to the next slide. This will show where you all come from. Currently, we have 140 participants from 38 states. You'll be going to 156 meetings. 75 of them are with Republicans, and 78 of them are with Democrats. And finally, 3 of them are with independents. Go to the next slide. So first, I'll take you through the Soapbox mobile tool. You should have received access to this through an email sent earlier today. If you don't have that email, not to worry. Just post in the chat right now that you don't have your mobile tool, and when I'm done speaking, I will be able to help you out with that. The mobile tool is not an app. It is just a website, so there will never be any need to download anything. You can access it through your phone, which will be very useful when you're on the Hill. The reason we use the mobile tool is because the meetings are going to change up to and through the event. So we want to use a platform that will keep you up to date on the very latest with your meetings. The first time you log in, you will be asked for a cell phone number. The reason that we ask for the number is that if there's a change, you'll get a text with a push notification so that you're aware of the change. You'll also want to use the mobile tool and keep track of that rather than put the meetings on your calendar because the meetings, again, will change and you want to be up to date with that. As of right now, we're still several days away, so many of you will see TBAs on your schedules instead of a meeting time. That's because about 15% of the offices that we're scheduling with schedule within about 2 business days before the visits. So if you see a TBA, there's probably still going to be a meeting. It's just we don't have a time yet. And you can expect that to be scheduled by the advocacy day. If there are any changes to any of that, we'll give you a call and we'll talk with you about that. So if you've seen your schedule already and there's something that doesn't look quite right, or you maybe can't participate, or somebody will be joining or replacing you, just respond to the email and we can help you out. We just want to give each of the offices the courtesy of knowing exactly who will be coming. So on your screen, you can see what the mobile tool will look like. At the very bottom of the landing page, there is a button for the Soapbox Help Desk. That's a very important button. It takes you to call a live help desk with 8 people ready to answer at all times during business hours. So if you call that number during the advocacy day, we will be able to help you. You can even call it before and we can help you out if you have any issues with your schedule. So up in that top row, you'll see 3 green buttons. On the left is your schedule. That will show you which meetings you're scheduled for and who in the office you'll be meeting with. It might say with member, which means that you're on the member of Congress's schedule. It might say with staff and have the name of a staffer. That's whose schedule you're on for now. Next to that, you'll see your team. Those are the people that you'll be going to meetings with. For many of you, it'll be perhaps your family and some people from your home state. On the right is documents. I don't believe there's anything in there at the moment, but there will be as of next Tuesday, which will just have some more information on the asks that you'll be talking about. The mobile tool is also important because that's how you'll be giving feedback on your meetings. I know Becky will appreciate getting feedback on all of your meetings, even if perhaps nothing's changed. And we'll go over a little bit more about how to give the feedback when we're in DC next week. So speaking of that, let's go to the next slide and I will show you what you'll be seeing in DC. Actually, the next slide after that. So this is a copy of the paper schedule you'll be getting next week. So this is the printed Soapbox schedule, which is just another way of showing the information that you'll be seeing in the mobile tool. So some of the key points up in the top, you'll see your name. Below that, you'll see your mobile tool code, which will, again, help you get into the virtual version of this schedule. Next to that, again, is the help desk number, very important number. We're always there to answer that. Below on the left, you will see your schedule. Again, it has the names of the members of Congress you'll be meeting with and who in particular from the office you'll be meeting with and the location of those offices. On the right, again, your team, people from your state. And below that, we have key committees. So we'll be tracking some committees and we'll be tracking some legislation. That's not on the schedule quite yet, but that'll be there next week and we'll have some more information for you when you're in DC about that. So if we go to the next slide, I will show you what's on the back of your paper schedule. This is the map of Capitol Hill. So again, this will be printed out and it'll be very easy to read on there. But essentially, this shows you the Senate office buildings on the north side of the Capitol. Up there, you have Russell, Dirksen, and Hart. They are where all of your Senate meetings will be taking place. There are 3 buildings, but they are connected through hallways that are in the basement. There are also little icons on those buildings showing you where you might be able to get food and wheelchair accessible entrances. You'll also see walking times reflected on there, generally about 15 minutes between the House side and the Senate side. Could be a little more. On the south side of the Capitol, you will see your House office buildings, Rayburn, Longworth, and Cannon. Again, they're connected through basement hallways. And this is important because when you're on the Hill, you will not have to go through security at each building. You can simply go through the basement and over to between the House side and then on the Senate side. So that's about all with the map. So now, until we hand you your printed schedule next week, I'm just going to ask you to get into the habit of checking your mobile tool every once in a while. You may want to look at it just to see if there are any changes and just so that you know what to expect when you're here. We also would like you to log in when you have it, just so that we know that you're still planning on coming and just are up to date with your schedule. Again, if you cannot find that email, not to worry, just put your name in the chat and I will be able to help you out and send it. And with that, I'll give it back to Becky, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this event.
Thank you so much, Lachlan. I just wanted to reiterate one thing. I know that there's always a lot of confusion about leaving like the House side or the Senate side, and if you have to go through security again. As Lachlan mentioned, if you do go out of one of the buildings, just remember that if you have to go to either the Senate side or another House building and you go outside, you will have to go through security again. So just make sure that you leave enough time to go through security. If you don't have enough time, I would recommend taking the tunnel system so that you don't have to wait outside in security again. So with that, I was just going to have my email address here, as most of you already have it already, just in case you don't, so you can reach out with any questions. And then we can start with the different questions. So first of all, somebody asked, in regards to bringing a water bottle at Capitol Hill, can we bring an empty reusable water bottle, or do we need to bring an empty clear plastic water bottle? Any water bottle is fine. Just know that everything will go through security. So if it is metal, it could be an issue. So I would recommend just bringing a plastic one or a clear plastic one, but everything you bring in will go through security every time. Next is, you may have said earlier, but besides our personal one-page story, is something else or is someone else bringing the leave behinds for the staffers? Yes, we will provide all of the leave behinds for you. So the only thing that you're responsible for is bringing your personal one-pager story, and then we will give you the folders. We'll also give you the ELSA one-pager, the talking points and facts, as well as a patient stories document. We're also going to be doing a fun little activity. We have a book that we're going to be writing notes in for the different legislators, just asking them for support of ELSA or thanking them for their support. And we're going to be leaving those with the offices. We do have the advocacy resources page, and I know that there's a lot of advocates who have asked me how they should write out their personal stories. And there are templates on that advocacy resource page from different congenital anomaly communities, and it will explain what you should have in your one pager. And I would really recommend going on there and reading those. They're very helpful. Are we going to be meeting with our representative or just their assistants? That's a good question, and it'll be different in every office that you go to. You may meet with your senators, you may meet with your representative, you may meet with somebody called their HLA, which is their health legislative aide. Some of them you may meet with their chief of staff or their legislative director. Just know that anyone that you meet with is very important. I know that there's sometimes where people or advocates are like, oh man, I really wish I would have been able to meet with my legislator. My message isn't going to be will not go across as strongly if I meet with their staff, but just know that the staffers do all of the background work, and they look into the bill. They make the recommendation on whether their boss should support ELSA and co-sponsor ELSA. So just know that the person that you're meeting with will be very important to make sure you connect with and build a relationship with. And those people are the ones that you're going to be reaching out to afterwards. So if you're worried about feeling bad that you're not meeting with some of your representatives, just know that those staffers are very important, and that they will take your story back to their boss. The next question is, do you have any suggested talking points for Congress representatives that voted no during the previous voting last year? Yes, we're going to be getting into all of the talking points in depth on site. We are also going to be having information about what you should and shouldn't say to different offices, as well as the schedules will also provide that information. So if you don't know how a certain member voted, or you don't know if they were a co-sponsor or not, we will have that on the schedules. And like I said, we are going to go further in depth as to exactly what you should and shouldn't say to different offices. Do we have to take the shuttle into the Capitol, or can we arrive separately and meet up? You can take a shuttle if that is your preference. We have provided bus transportation for advocates, so if you signed up to take the bus, you're more than welcome to take that. We do have very, very limited seating, so we only have room for the people who showed up, or for the people who asked for bus transportation. So if you show up to the buses that morning and you haven't signed up, we will not have room, and then you will have to take a shuttle. So it is completely up to you. If you prefer not to take the bus transportation that we're providing for you, you can take transportation on your own. Next question is, there's somewhere we can take kids if they're having a hard time during meetings? 2 adults and 1 4-year-old. Our hallways open. So yes, we always try to make the sessions as kid-friendly as possible. We understand that you're bringing your children with you. I'll just give an example. I have a 2-year-old. He has autism, and sometimes he's very loud. You will all know who my son Lachlan is by the end of the night. My husband will be chasing him around, as well as my mother. So feel free to take them out in the hallway if you would like to, but feel free if you want to bring them into the room as well. We will have crayons and some little notebooks, and we just really want to be welcoming to everybody, and don't feel bad if they do make a little bit of noise, but feel free to take them out in the hallway or go get them snacks or whatever you'd like, whatever you feel most comfortable with. The next question is, how do we know if we signed up for the bus? You can just reach out to me or Kayla. Kayla, if you want to throw your email in the chat box, and we can let you know if you signed up for the bus. There is a question about how do we sign up for the bus? It was on the registration form, and like I said, we are maxed out on the bus transportation. So I would just email Kayla and ask if you have already registered, and we can let you know. The next question is, I am staying overnight at the hotel. What transportation is best to get back after our meetings? So it really depends upon what you're comfortable with. I personally like to just hop in an Uber and head back to the hotel. If you're going back to the airport afterwards, there is a metro right outside of the ADA townhouse, maybe about a half a block away. So that's another alternative if you would like to use that. It just really depends upon what you're comfortable with, but we can also provide you with a list of options from getting back if you would like. Just reach out to me, Becky at nfed.org, and I can give you a list of what's available in the area. Let's see what else. Kayla, do you see any other questions that I missed at all? There's a couple of questions again about what you should and shouldn't include in your family stories. And again, I would really recommend going to those advocacy templates and reading through them and finding out what other families have included in their stories. And that again is in the advocacy resources webpage. And Kayla did include a link in the chat box. Kayla's email address is kayla@nfed.org, and that's KAYLA@nfed.org. Another question is, what color are the t-shirts? They are teal aqua color, and they have the ELSA logo on the front, the NFED, Day on the Hill logo, and then our thank you to our sponsors on the back. How do we know who is the designated leader of each meeting? I didn't see this listed in my meetings yet. That information, we'll go over all of that information on site. And then if there's any issues with the leaders, we will let you know. I did try to choose only leaders who had indicated they would be willing to be meeting leaders. So if you, once you get on site and you look at all of that information, if you have any questions, just reach out to me or email me ahead of time. Pictures taken to advocate holding the blue sign. We have at least 100. Is it okay to use hashtag ELSA NFED House and Senators on Facebook? Correct. So the hashtags would be the Ensuring Lasting Smiles. It's not Ensuring Lasting Smiles Act. It's actually just hashtag Ensuring Lasting Smiles. The next one would be NFED on the Hill. And then you would tag either your member of the House, which is your representative, or whatever senator that you meet with. You have one representative and 2 senators. Thank you, Kayla, for dropping all this in here. Kayla just dropped in the hashtags. If you want to copy those, we'll provide those on site as well. Do group members go off on their own between meetings if there are big breaks, or do the groups stay together? That's completely up to you. Usually the different teams talk about that the night before, or they may just decide in between meetings. Some families want to go off on their own and have lunch by themselves. Some people want to stay together, only because they're unsure of where the next meeting will be or how to get to that next meeting. So it's completely up to you, whatever you want to do. Every advocate has their own choice just to stay with their group, or they can go for lunch or just take a break. There is a question about, can we tour the Capitol? You can tour the Capitol. I believe you have to sign up for that in advance though. And they have certain times available that you have to sign up for, because they can only take a certain amount of people in a group. Lachlan, do you know any other information on that?
I do not.
You could call the Capitol. The information is also on the link that we provided, but I do know that you need to sign up and that they only take certain groups, and that it does take a while to get through the Capitol. So make sure that you have enough time. Don't sign up for a tour and then all of a sudden realize that you have to be at a legislative meeting, because we don't want you to be late for those. So if you have a large amount of time, several hours, that may be something you want to look into. Or if you have time like the morning before or something, you're more than welcome to look into that. Just make sure that you have enough time, because I know that they do take a little bit of time to make it through all of the different chambers and the Capitol crypt and everything. Next is, how do we thank the representatives and senators? I know we did electronically when it was virtual, or should we send it on our own? Lachlan, do you just want to quickly hit upon that? What the process is, if there's anything available through the mobile tool?
Yes, there is. So at the end of the day, next Tuesday, you will get on your mobile tool schedule, you will see the emails of the people that you met with appear. Our suggestion is to send a thank you over email rather than mail. And yeah, that would definitely be the way to go about it once those emails appear there.
Thank you. And I was just going to add to that, we recommend reaching out to the staffer that you met with anyways to start building a relationship. It's a great way to follow up. and send pictures, thank them, let them know that you'll be a resource for them. It's really the first touch point after that in-person meeting to say, thank you for everything you did for us. Thank you for meeting with us. Thank you for taking the time. Will all the information on the chat be available on the recording? Yes, it will be available on the recording, and though the recording will go out tomorrow afternoon, and that will go out to everybody. You don't have to sign up for that. Somebody had just said, just FYI, we had a representative sign us up for Capitol Tour last time and got in. And yes, the White House tour has to be arranged in advance because they have to do a security check. So I know that if you did not sign up for a White House tour, you will not be able to participate in that. Thank you, Laura, for the information. I would just check ahead of time with the Capitol, though, on the Capitol tours. I know that they changed just with security measures there. So just go ahead and reach out to the Capitol and ask them what their protocol is to arrange a tour. I do not see any other questions at all. So with that, I just want to thank everybody for participating. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. It's going to be a very exciting time. And I finally get to meet everybody in person that we've talked to over the years in virtual appointments. If you have any questions, reach out to myself or Kayla. If you have questions about your schedule, please reach out to the Soapbox Help Desk. And with that, I'm going to end the webinar and you will receive the recording tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you joining tonight.